Welcome back to the lab, folks. Today we got an interesting device here to look at from FNIRSI. And what this device is their new tablet oscilloscope, and it's called the DPOS350P. Let's have a look at it. So it does come in this really nice case. It's a very nice hard shell case with a protective flap in between the scope and the accessory pouch. And this is a nice place here for the manual to go. Now let's see what else does it come with. The accessories here. It comes with a couple of scope probes, and they are rated for 350 megahertz. They're pretty standard fare, and it comes with a power adapter, a BNC to alligator clip. I was assumed this would be for the built-in function generator, and a USB cable here for charging and powering it. And here's the unit itself. Now it's going to look really good. Now the scope itself, it's got 3 BNC connectors up here, one for the generator and the other 2 for the 2 channels. This side has nothing on it. This side here has your USB-C port and the power switch, and on the back you have a tilting bail which keeps it rather vertical, and a fan exit port here. Now excuse the noise in the lab. What's running in the background there is an RF generator which I'm going to be using to test the bandwidth of this. It needs to warm up, so let's plug it in here. Now one of the things I notice is when you turn it on, like here you get a charge indicator that it's plugged in to charge, but when you do turn it on you get these blue lights on the side here, and I wish there would be a way to shut them off, because all they're really doing is using up power, and if you unplug it they're still on, so they're basically just wasting power. They're not there doing anything for you. And around the outside it's got these little rubber bumpers, which is a nice feature. Tilting bail is pretty good, and these little rubber feet down here ensure that it stays pretty steady, so when you're poking around on the screen of it, it doesn't move around much on you. So here you have the system menu. You go in there and all the different things that you can do: calibration settings, system calibration, USB connect, that's so you can get your files on and off it, like your screenshots and your waveforms and things like that. You can set up the automatic shutdown for off or up to 1 hour. I think I would like it on off. In language settings, factory settings, so that returns the thing to whatever you booted up initially at. And formatting the disk. Over here you have access to the different functions of the instrument. Change the waveform light, which doesn't seem to have a heck of an effect. Probably more for the digital phosphor representation. We'll show you that too at some point. Color temperature. Yeah, so that changes the color of it. Access to XY mode. Background grid if you want it on or off. Frequency response analyzer, very handy feature. I think it's one of the best parts of this scope here, is to be able to do that. So what it does is basically does bode plot, and it's all the way from 1 kilohertz, actually it'll go down a little bit lower than that, up to 50 megahertz, so it covers a good range there. And this is a spectrum analyzer. When we put a signal into it, we'll show you that. So this is the measure menu, and you got a separate list for channel 1 and channel 2 here. And what I want to show you here is that it doesn't have anything to do with rise time and stuff like that. So that I think is a little bit of failing. If they could, I'd like them to update the firmware to put that in there. Okay, let's get out of there. This is a browser. Go in and look at your files. Picture browser, you can go in there and have a look at those. So you can bring up a particular screenshot like that. You can look at waveforms that you've captured. These waveforms can also be used in the function generator, which is a pretty handy feature as well. Cursors, you can enable X cursors and you can enable Y cursors, and the cursors work very nicely. They have a fast move mode, which is down here. You select that, so you can move like that, and they basically move with your finger. And if you want to kind of pinpoint it into something, put it onto slow move, and then it moves much slower than your finger, so you can get it in a precise area. So that's a handy way to control that. And let's take those off there. As you save your waveforms, so if you've got a waveform up there, that'll save that to that waveform file structure. And this one here does a screenshot, and this is the zoom mode. We'll show you that once we've got a signal up there. Down here you have your channel on off and the controls for the channel. So in those you have 1x, 10x, 100x, DC, AC coupling. You can put on a little fast for your transform display. I'll show you that, but I don't find it of any use at all. And you got your bandwidth limit, so full 350 megahertz, 150 megahertz, and 20 megahertz. And of course you got the same for channel 2. Over here you got your horizontal control, all the way from 50 seconds down to 5 nanoseconds. Here you have your acquire menu. Here we can do 8-bit, 9-bit, 10-bit, 12. So you can get up to 16 bits of vertical acquisition. Here we have the trigger controls. So you get auto, single, normal, your rising edge, falling edge, and whether or not channel 1 or channel 2, and high frequency suppression. So you got different levels of that are off. And here's the generator, which we'll go into in more detail. And we've already seen that control there. Now let's put a signal into it. And we'll do an auto setup on it here. So this is 255 megahertz going into it here. Right here it'll come up, we're at the fastest sweep rate. So going up beyond this, like going up to 350 megahertz, it just gets squished a little bit more on the screen there. Okay, now what these controls here are, these are the vertical controls here. Just pressing this one here centers everything. That's the automatic, of course. This is this run stop. And here you get the trigger control, put it up and down like that. Okay, so there are all the basic controls. So now I want to do a sweep of the bandwidth. I'm going to take it down to 50 megahertz. We'll set an amplitude there, and then we'll start bringing it up from that point. Probably go bump right up to 100 megahertz, and then go up every 50 megahertz from there, just to have a look and see how stable it is and where it drops off. So let me put in 50 megahertz here. Hope you can see this here. We're now set up, we're at 50 megahertz and 100 millivolts. Let me bring it up now to 100 megahertz. And we're holding good at 99.9. 150 megahertz. We're up to 105, so it's peaking a little bit here. Now let's bring it up to the next level. Okay, so we're still peaking a little bit here at 200 megahertz. Let's bring it up to 250. We're still peaking a little bit at 250 megahertz. We're up to 107 millivolts. Okay, let's bring it up to 300. Coming back down to 105. Let's bring it up to 350. We're at 104. 400. We're down to 75. So definitely got to see a roll off here. Let's try 425. Oh no, that's gone there. They can still measure the frequency. Here, let's try what 410 looks like. Okay, but we're down below the 3 dB point. Let's try 405. 404, 403, 402. Between 402 and 403 is your 3 dB point. But two things here. At this frequency, you don't have enough sampling rate here, so no matter what you put into this frequency, that's the best you're going to get. You're almost at the Nyquist point at this point in time, and you're not going to get a great display of anything. It's going to look like this regardless of what the signal is going to go into it. And with the maximum of 5 nanoseconds per division, this is getting to look very tight. A limited usefulness at this point. I think personally that 250 megahertz would be a better bandwidth limit for it. Okay, so we've had a look at that. That peaking in the middle there, it's not very much, 7 millivolts. That could be better. I'd like to not see that, but there it is. Maybe they've done something either in software or in hardware filtering to kind of boost the signal a little bit in order to stretch it out to 350 megahertz. I don't see the practicality of that for a 1 gigasample per second scope. And that's only on a single channel. Of course, if you go to 2 channels, it's going to drop down to 150 megahertz bandwidth and only 500 gigasamples per second. So I'm going to shut this noisy machine down. Okay, folks, I think we'll call it quits for part 1 of this detailed look into the FNIRSI DPOS350P. There's a heck of a lot to see, so we may have to go to 3 or 4 parts to see it all. But thanks for coming out, and I will see you in the next video.